Mysterious things are happening in Antarctica. Quite a few, actually. I got one video that is what I believe to be a new video, at least it's new, popping up on my feed that I've been seeing. And then just some other news around Antarctica that is new as well that we'll look at. And just some of the strange theories and strange anomalies that are already surrounding it, such as the fact that the Rothschilds have an island there, which is weird. I mean, Antarctica is definitely a mysterious place. There's a lot of strange things that go on there, and then weird spiritual things that seem to circulate around it as well. And with, the fact that, most people aren't allowed to go there, no one can really go there, like without them deciding who gets to. Like, who knows what's actually going on there? It's got to be, it could be, your imagination could tell you whatever you think. So I had a good time coming on live with you guys the other day and talking about the Denver airport conspiracy with that lady who kind of freaked out in the Denver airport reading off of a list. So I thought it'd be fun to come on here and hang out with you guys and talk a little bit about Antarctica, because that's some fun stuff. So God bless you guys. See you in the chat. What's up, Silhouette? Yeah, the video just started and everything, so we got different topics around Antarctica pulled up. And of course, however God can be glorified in all this, what matters the most is that he's glorified in all things. And may that just always be the, the leading message that I put out. So this is a fun thing to talk about sometimes with this ice wall stuff. I'm not a flat earther, but the ice wall stuff is cool and it's interesting. And just the concept of there being more lands out there that are yet to be explored would be really awesome. I'm going to keep this audio quiet here. This is a video that I saw recently that I hadn't yet seen. It says Australians are attempting to approach the international waters surrounding Antarctica and confirm that traveling to Antarctica on an independent trip is almost impossible. I'm going to leave this audio pretty quiet. They don't really say anything. I just think the audio might be copyright music. So as you can see, I mean, they do have Australian accents, so they could very well be traveling from Antarctica towards that direction. And as you'll see, a military ship comes up close to them and tells them to go somewhere else, which is weird. I mean, that is weird. That is weird for that to happen in the first place, unless they got close to it. But that would not be smart to be out in the middle of the ocean and getting close to a military ship. They take everything as a threat. So let me know in the chat what you guys think is going on in Antarctica, because it's always been a super interesting place. There's so many different theories. Some people say that that could be a place where the fallen angels are bound, because in I think it's the Book of Enoch, there's an explanation as to how the things surrounding it, and that there's different things around the mountains, and the sun burns 24/7 and things like that. I forget the channel, Israeli News Live. I think he came up with that, or he discovered that in the Book of Enoch. I don't know, but there is weird things. There's like a massive crater underneath Antarctica. Sometimes there's been pulses there. And again, the weirdest thing of all is that they don't let you go there. There's an entire continent on the earth that the average person cannot go to, which is very strange. Very strange to think what is actually going on there. And the Rothschilds have an island there as well, which starts to get into some weird stuff as well. This video kind of reminded me of the last video. Some of you guys probably saw this before.
Why don't we just go through here? Middle of the
Sadly, though, as we'll see, this video does not show that this guy is entering the waters around Antarctica. Because when I saw this, I was like, geez, this is pretty weird. It says it's beyond the ice wall, you know the theory.
Check out this water. And then in a second, it's just going to be glassy clear.
Yeah, so it goes from
what the heck?
Rough, not rough seas, but turbulent kind of rough seas to just completely calm. But then...
Yeah, so this is the transition from George's Bank to open water. It is tortured here in the middle of the ocean.
So as you can see, he says that that's as you're going from George's Bank into the open ocean. And this video is making it sound like he's beyond the ice wall or heading towards Antarctica or something, and that's like off of the coast of Massachusetts. Sadly, that's not true, because that would be very cool, because that is very weird to see the waters change there. Now, before we get into the Rothschild's Island stuff and some other news that's actually happening like recently in Antarctica, like going on right away. I want to show this because there's some strange things. Now, of course, I do not believe in, well, I don't support remote viewing, right? And I don't support astral projection, but the United States government does. They're involved in it. They have CIA agents involved in remote viewing, astral projection, in metaphysical practices, spiritual warfare, I guess you could say, but they're doing it on the wrong side. They're not doing it with the Lord and the true power. They're doing it with the metaphysical realm, trying to gain a supernatural advantage. Like pretty much every king, like so many of them in history have tried to do this, tried to get this supernatural power. And the same thing is going on here as well. We'll see this girl is talking about how she was astral projecting and went to go look at Antarctica and what exactly she found and how it's tied to the how it's tied to the military. Fallen angels could be under the Euphrates River. God bless. Thanks, D. Jones, for that. Absolutely. I mean, they are under there. We know for sure, which is crazy to think that there's like a location on the earth where there is fallen angels tied under there. It's interesting also to think about how God says the fallen angels, they're bound in everlasting chains forever. And that could just mean, the interpretation of that could actually mean that maybe they're just bound in their limitations of what they're allowed to do. It says in everlasting darkness, and that will be their eternity. But we know the fallen angels, again, at the Euphrates, they'll be released. And when you look at the influence that fallen angels had in the past, it appears that they're still having that similar influence on the world today. Or even the fact that just, the flood wiped out the giants and the fallen angels. But then we see giants after the flood as well, like Goliath. Most of the stories of giants that we have are after the flood. So the fallen angels were still influencing society somehow in the earth. Maybe their everlasting chains of darkness are actually everlasting chains over the powers that they had. So let's watch this video here. So again, this girl astral projecting into Antarctica, and this is what she saw.
Viewed Antarctica yet?
Oh, I have. And that's where another remote viewer kicked me out.
Oh.
Like, he found me and I was like,
Yeah, they don't mess around there.
they do not mess around there. Just sort of just, floating down this hallway, right, in my astral body. And then there was this really big, and the way that I see other remote viewers is it would be like an outline of a human body, but transparent, like kind of like a ghostly shape almost. Anyway, so he was really big and like tall and also wide, and he was floating down the hallway towards me. And I was confused because I've never seen another remote viewer. Like, I've never been seen before at that point. And so he looks at me and he goes like this, and he goes, and he kicks, like pushes me energetically way outside of the base. And all of a sudden, like, I'm now outside. And I was just confused. And so what I did was I cloaked myself, which essentially is putting like an invisibility cloak around your astral body. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depends on their consciousness level. And I went back into the base. So I stepped in behind him, and with any remote viewer, you have a grounding cord, and that grounding cord leads the astral body back to the physical body. So what I did was I followed this guy's grounding cord down the hall, so behind him, and then I went into this tiny room, like we're talking very small room, and there was two men in military fatigues, and both of them in these military fatigues were like this. They were slumped over. And so in that moment, I realized, oh, these are their remote viewers. So they're sitting in the base physically, and then they're patrolling the base astrally. And that was my first experience learning that, okay, I got to be careful because I can't just go anywhere and do whatever I want.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I agree with you guys. This girl's loony and she's messing around with things that are wrong. And she could even be a fraud too, for sure. But that wouldn't surprise me at all if they had people who were astral projecting and monitoring whatever, trying to defend the base astrally, confusing people who are trying to look in there because they believe in this stuff. I mean, Sean Ryan, who was in the CIA, has CIA people on his podcast quite often who were remote viewers mainly, is the main thing that the CIA does. And that's exactly what she's saying here. But they're tying remote viewing and astral projecting as a similar type of thing. So they're saying that these people are there astral projecting, protecting over the base, watching over it, trying to defend it in the metaphysical realm. Again, this gets into weird stuff, and it gets into stuff that is obviously forbidden knowledge, tied again to like the fallen angels we were just mentioning, stuff that was not meant for human beings to know at all. And the stuff is real enough, at least to the point to where the United States government has spent quite a few dollars and continue to practice and go into that realm to try to do that. They've had quite a few people doing that. But, you know, really, it's almost like Satan. He gives these people little bits of information, and then they like see it and they're like, okay, wow, that's interesting. Because you can even watch the astral projecting videos where they like, or the remote viewing videos where they have the guys in the CIA projects and they have to remote view what's in the guy's pocket, and they draw what they think he has and they show it, and it's very close. In my opinion, that's like Satan somehow figuring that out, somehow connecting the people for that one moment. And then these people are now lost on an endless journey, thinking that practically they're God, or they could reach the level of being like a God, knowing all things, having all information. I mean, when you think that this is what you're doing, when you think that you can astral project into bases in Antarctica and all this stuff, and I mean, this girl, I've heard her talk about other stuff as well, like the Galactic Federation of aliens that get together and they're talking about what we need to do here on Earth. That's just like, that's what I mean. You get lost down a path of just endless forbidden knowledge that it's just, some of it is forbidden and some of it is just complete deception of Satan. And Satan and the demons are just laughing, thinking they think there's a federation of aliens and they're not going to believe the gospel over that complete lie. That's what they're doing. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, the Bible even says that, like, don't go after these wise fables and all these loony things or endless philosophies that don't lead you to anything. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Believe in that and that alone. Jesus is the truth. End of story. So, before we look here at this Rothschild's Island in Antarctica, one of the things that is weird about Antarctica is that, well, actually, we could look at that after first because these next two things are kind of connected. So, as you can see here, on this satellite map of Antarctica, here is the Rothschild's Island. So they were given this island back in like the 1800s, or I looked it up. It said something like, well, it says right here. So Rothschild's Island is black, rugged island, 39 kilometers long, mainly ice covered, but surmounted by prominent peaks of the Desco Mountains in Antarctica. So it's really just this thing here, and then the rest of this is just ice, I guess, that connects the two. When you look here, which is kind of interesting on like Google, or Microsoft Maps, I guess, you have, this is it here, the Rothschild's Island highlighted. You can see the word there of it. And then down here is this Chillicothe Island and Lauderdale Island. But then when you go down here, like here's the Chillicothe right there, and there's complete ice holding all of this in. And then here, there's like none at all. So like people who were to see this, they'd be like, geez, there's like no ice here. When in reality, on satellite image, this whole thing is covered with ice. And we'll get into that in here in just a minute. So, you know, of course, the Rothschilds, they're known to be a very powerful family involved for a long time in the history of the world, funding multiple sides of wars, having lots of power and influence in society around the world. They're a Jewish family. They helped sign Israel into becoming a nation. And before I get off on a tangent on that, there's more things surrounding that, but they definitely have a lot going on. But I think that the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, while they are like you know, some of these high elites of the world, definitely involved in secret societies and stuff, they are not the people pulling the strings at all. I mean, whoever's pulling the strings at the very top, I don't think anybody really is at the very, very top. It's just different people involved in many different areas. That's why, like, when the Antichrist comes, the 10 kings who have the most power, they just give their power to him, because these people are still pulling the strings in different areas. So it's not like, you know, there's one person pulling the strings right now around the world or anything like that. That eventually there will be, and that will be, you know, the false one to come. The Antichrist, the beast, and the false prophet. So when you look around on this island, I mean, it's just extremely desolate. It's kind of interesting. There's like a big crevice here, kind of like an underground hole or anything, but there's no tracks or no docks no research facilities. It looks like a pretty barren island. I think what they say, and probably is what was like realistic. I mean, this was funded. The Rothschilds were funding expeditions to Antarctica back when it was first having expeditions, and then the guys who kind of did it, they named the island after them, which does happen. To be honest, not gonna like one to stand up for the Rockefellers, but I know that does happen because I actually met someone one time who had an island named after them in Antarctica. Randomly, they just like worked on something there, and they gave them the name of an island. But that's not to say the Rothschilds aren't involved in a lot of weird stuff, because I agree they for sure are. I mean, they're elites, they admit it. So here's some information, known information about the maps, but this is worth considering. That there's more going on in Antarctica than we really know for sure, and I think there's even ancient past tied to it that we don't know, that they don't admit for sure.
Antarctica until 1820. That's a fact. Go look it up. We didn't discover Antarctica until 1820. That's a fact. Go look it up. And yet, somehow, it's right there on maps from the 1500s, drawn with precision, with coastlines, with mountains, with detail we shouldn't have had. Now ask yourself, how did they map a place no one had ever stepped foot on? Let's talk about the Orontius Phineas map, drawn in 1531. It shows Antarctica exactly where it should be, nestled under South America. Then there's the Walsee-Miller map, same story, and the Pinkerton map doesn't even bother pretending. It just leaves a hole where Antarctica belongs. They called it the Southern Land, and oddly enough, it was bigger than today's frozen chunk. Why? Because during the Ice Age, it was. Let that sink in. Whoever made the original maps knew Ice Age geography. So either someone traveled there thousands of years ago, or we're dealing with something far older, a civilization.
So I just want to say real quick, I saw somebody mention the hole in Antarctica. I kind of showed the hole that was in the island, on the Rothschild Island a little bit. Not sure if you mentioned that, because I saw some people were mentioning that online, but there's also like a big opening. Supposedly Admiral Byrd flew over, right? Or was that North Pole? I think, well, he did go do trips in Antarctica, but there's a big hole. Suppose he went down there and then into inner Earth, and that's the whole inner Earth theory, which if there is any place on the Earth with the hole that goes all the way into an inner Earth, for sure would be in Antarctica. I saw someone mention that. Thanks for that. And then also astral projection and remote viewing are definitely they're 100% witchcraft, occult knowledge, and God does not want us to do that.
Lost, forgotten, but smart enough to chart the ends of the Earth when we still thought the world was flat. These aren't just maps, they're fingerprints, clues left behind by hands that shouldn't exist in our history books, and yet they do. Go ahead, say it's a coincidence, but the evidence, it's staring right at us.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
So, I think that's undeniable that something was going on in the ancient past in Antarctica that we just have no idea about. I mean, civilizations, it just makes no sense that they would have these maps that were mapped out perfectly with knowledge that was way before the 1800s when they say they found Antarctica, and then they just have these maps with that knowledge on it as well. So that just makes absolutely no sense. And then when you get to like this, the pyramid in Antarctica, and there's other ones as well that look like pyramids, it's very strange. I mean, this looks way too much like a pyramid, and we'll look here in just a minute at other pyramids that were like what looked a lot less than pyramids than this, and they were actually legitimate pyramids. So, this is a well-known thing. Some say it's just a rock formation, others believe it's an ancient structure. And again, so if it was spotted in satellite images resembling the Great Pyramids of Giza with 4 distinct sides, and actually one of the high peaks, this is actually right next to it. One of the highest, I think the highest peak actually in Antarctica, because a lot of people who are like mountaineers and stuff, they climb the highest peaks on every mountains. That's one of their like accomplishments that they try to make. And it's actually, you can see it in the distance, even closer than that. I'm pretty sure like the tallest peak might even be this one here on the left, because you can see it as you're climbing it. But I mean, look at that thing from a distance. It looks exactly like a pyramid. So located in Antarctica where temperature drops below this, making exploration difficult. Some believe it's linked to extraterrestrials or secret military bases. What do you think of this? It's just a formation or lost civilization. So I think the possibility of there being a lost civilization from there is very likely, especially when we don't understand what was going on in the earth with the weather in the past or any of that stuff. We do not know that. How have I been compromised? Am I a government agent or something? I would like to know. I'm definitely not, when I kind of call out the government all the time. So this is I think there was an ancient civilization that probably lived there, high likelihood. And then again, when you look at that pyramid, as you can see in the distance there, and then as you can see it here, look at that compared to some of these. So like this is Machu Picchu 1915 above, and then 2020 below. I mean, you couldn't even, it looks like a jungle, right? You can see some things sticking up, nothing at all. I mean, there's a lot of examples of this. I mean, this one is crazy. This Temple of the Sun in Mexico, it looks like a hill in 1900s, and then 2022, now you can see, or just current time, right? I mean, it's insane how it looks there. I mean, look how that top one doesn't even look like a pyramid shape. Imagine how much stuff is actually buried beneath the earth. It's insane to think about. They mapped it. They had to get close. Maybe went on it. Yeah, I would agree for sure. Thanks for that, Fisherman. God bless you, bro. Appreciate that. Yeah, I like these topics too as well. I like some of the conspiracy topics are fun, where there's like not a lot of negative stuff surrounding it, and like a lot of evil, just interesting topics. Those are fun to talk about. Fisherman's Corner. God bless you. Thank you. I missed how I was an agent or how I was compromised. I guess I'm not anymore. God bless all you guys in the chat. Hope and pray you're well. And even with these topics like this, you know, they're interesting. They're fun. Most importantly, though, Jesus Christ is King. He's the Lord. He's the truth. I constantly harp on the same things, and I mean it because I know they've changed my life, and they can for everyone. Read the Bible all the time. Pray, worship, and that will change your life. Make that your lifestyle. Prayer, worship, and reading the Bible. If you need answers to stuff, just go pray for an hour straight. I mean, how much time will we spend, you know, watching TV, watching Netflix, binging shows or whatever? I mean, we can spend an hour or two with the Lord alone, and just, he'll meet you for sure. Even if he just gives you a peace that surpasses understanding, not the exact answer that we think we need to our problems. It's so worth it, right? I mean, he can give us so much. He gives us so much. I just want to encourage you guys on that. Breakthroughs yeah, you can get huge breakthroughs when you do that. I mean, he will change your life. I changed my life into a lifestyle of prayer, and wow, God can do amazing things. This is 1900 to 2020, the pyramid. I mean, how crazy is that as well? Again, I mean, it looks, you almost wouldn't even think. I mean, it doesn't even look as much of a pyramid as this thing. And then these things are there. I mean, what is that? I mean, it's crazy to think about. That's why I think that there could seriously be something there in Antarctica for sure. All right. Yeah. So let me know in the chat what you guys think about that. I mean, it's similar when you think too, like at the Tower of Babel, which I was reading a little today on, you know, God confused the languages and spread people out everywhere. They were all, and it says, there's these theories which are kind of interesting and kind of maybe plausible in a way. Like I can see how people could say that, how they say stuff like, well, Noah's flood was maybe just regional and not worldwide. But I mean, when you read the words that are said in the Bible, like it says worldwide. And when you read the words of what it says about the Tower of Babel, it says everyone on the earth was speaking the same language. Everyone came to this one place and they started building bricks and building towers up to the heavens. And then God saw what they were doing and said, if they continue to do this, they will try to do anything. They'll try to, you know, be like God, which is like what Satan has always done, and Satan's influence on humans has always done. And so God scattered them, you know, mixed the languages. Maybe there was some scattered to Antarctica as well. And, you know, as we'll see in just a moment with some of the current information on Antarctica, it's not always, you know, black and white. The history is not even what we know. I think I put it on another main video that like there were some planes that crashed in Antarctica, and they dug down to try to find the plane. Some guy who was like a rich aviation guy who wanted to restore the plane went there and was looking for him, and dug down, and like compared to the ice rings that you pull up when you see those scientists or whatever pulling them up and looking at the ice rings, the plane was supposedly like buried there like 100,000 years ago. Like those ice rings aren't actually showing like 10,000 years like scientists say. It's actually like every time it snows, it creates one of those ice rings. So the history and the science and the stuff we think we know is not true. And it's insane how like when we look back at the stuff they were doing in the 60s, we're like, oh, they were so like, they didn't know what was going on. They were so like, they don't have what we have now. We know so much more now. I mean, in 100 years, 200 years, it'd be the same thing. So for us to look back at like the history and look at Antarctica and think we know everything is not true. It's for sure not true. And we'll see that with what I'm about to pull up here in just a moment. Sorry, I'm trying to read and speak at the same time. I'm trying to keep up a little bit with the chat here. Yeah. Yes. Importance of prayer and fasting and obedience. 100%. Those things are like crucial. Prayer, fasting, worship, obedience. I mean, obedience above maybe like these are all like cannot really be replaced. They're crucial. Obedience and intimacy is the other one that I think too. Just time with God. It's like anything else, you know, like Kobe Bryant's wasn't a great basketball player because he just played basketball sometimes. He played all the time. Same with Michael Jordan. It's the same with God. You want to be close to God? Spend time with God, and you'll get to know him a lot better. You'll get a lot more insight. If you want to be spiritual and you want to know the Lord, spend time with him and he will do it. Thanks, Fisherman's Corner, man. Appreciate that, brother. I try to upload some extra content for the members here and there, and then have our monthly live stream on the first Monday of the month. That was just today. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm definitely not a Freemason. I've talked about against Freemasonry all the time, and I'm definitely not a government person either. So I just like Jesus, and I love Jesus, and I like conspiracies. And I make videos on stuff I like. I love Jesus the most. I like conspiracies also. That's what I make my videos on. That's pretty much how I go about things. So here's one more video, or one more picture of the pyramid, as this one's like starting to be taken over by the earth and plants, which is kind of cool. You know, it's cool to see, just because that would be amazing if this was going on there in the past, this ancient stuff in the past, ancient civilizations in Antarctica. That would just be amazing. All right, so we will pull up. Thanks again for that, Fisherman's Corner. God bless you, man. We will pull up now the current news going on right now with what's going on in Antarctica. I talked about this a little bit on one of my main videos recently, but it's important to know because there's so many world systems and world, you know, things that they're pushing forth by governments around the world and narratives that are just controlled by this one thing, which is the climate. And for years, I mean, you could pull up literally tens of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of articles about how the climate is getting hotter, the ice is melting, everything is about to be terrible because of that. And yet, just like I was saying about the ice rings in Antarctica, with that, how that did not make sense, it does not make sense here that Antarctica ice has made a surprising rebound in mass, scientists say. And you'll see how they just gloss over certain things. And that's why it's the control of the mainstream media that they have on the minds of so many people is important, that they stop having that power over them, because they will just gloss over everything, right? I mean, it's just like in 2020 with whatever it was. What was it? 15 days or whatever to stop the spread. And that turned into, I mean, luckily I lived in a pretty conservative area, and so it didn't go on long where I lived, but I knew people where it was going on for 2 years. So like 15 days to stop the spread ended up being 2 years for some people. And that's like, and then when they look back, they'll say, well, you know, we said we didn't push that you had to go and get the jab. We didn't push mandates. We didn't say you had to wear the mask. I mean, it was all an option, wasn't it? And we all remember it was not an option for a lot of people or in a lot of places around the nation. So it's important that we point out that the mainstream media, they can't just gloss over things, and they can't just do the things they do and then just like not expect us to say, well, we're just not going to trust you at all anymore, because that's how it should be. So again, here we go. Against all odds, Antarctica ice is growing again. Here's why. So within the article, it says that, let's see, so a surprising ice gain. So I wanted to read this part here. The ice gain impact on sea levels, because this is the thing that they're so obsessed with, which is like so insane. It's shocking. And there's like old people who believe that the sea level, there's like old people who live by the ocean who believe that the sea levels are rising, and they can't remember that the sea levels are not rising. I grew up around the ocean, going to the ocean, and the ocean has not changed in that location in my entire life. The sea level has not risen at all. And then here, you know, this one thing that they're so obsessed with all the time. These huge variations have directly affected global sea levels. Here's the breakdown. From 2002 to 2010, the ice sheet's loss contributed to an increase in sea levels by 0.20 mm per year. From 2011 to 2020, this rate nearly doubled, with an increase of 0.39 mm per year. But from 2021 to 2023, the ice sheet's growth reduced sea levels by 30 mm per year. If we zoom out a bit, it's clear that this gain is the largest since the 1990s. However, the overall trend since the 80s has been downward, as seen in the data. So yes, there's a record-breaking mass gain for Antarctica ice sheet in 2021 to 23, thanks to increased precipitation in East Antarctica. So it's like they say, you know, from 2002 to 2010, they're hyping up the fear of like sea levels are going to rise and it's going to be really bad. The Maldives will not even exist anymore. Yet they build $1 million things all the time on the coast everywhere. And then in 2011 to 2020, they're hyping sea level gains and climate stuff. Like, I mean, all the time they come out with things like, for a while there, wasn't France having a countdown like 500 days to climate catastrophe? How many hundreds of days ago was that now? And then they like freak out about this. It's rising 39 per year, 39 per year. Oh, well, it just snowed a lot in the past few years, and it actually grew at almost the same rate that it was supposedly leaving. And again, like when you look on this map, you see, oh geez, this is like all water here. There's an island here. When you look here next to this, like here's that Cherkot Island or whatever. Cherkot Island, water, Cherkot Island, all ice. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. What's going on is that we don't understand nature the same way that climate scientists think that we do, in my personal opinion. And again, what really doesn't make sense is that they've been hyping the sea levels thing for years, and I've personally witnessed it. Sea levels aren't rising. And then when I see stuff like this, I'm just like, okay, yeah, something is not adding up here. 1880, like old pictures. You can see the coast here and how it looks. And then you can see it here as well. And then, oh, in 2020, they're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to be here, right here on the coast here. But sea levels are going to rise supposedly and destroy everything on the coast. Just the fact that millions and millions of dollars are being spent on coastlines every single day. If that was a real threat, no one would do that. That's why, like, if you look at like Hawaii and buying land on Hawaii, it's insanely expensive. Like an acre is like an insane amount of money. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars for an acre of land in Hawaii. But like on the big island of Hawaii, near the volcano, where it's like volcano stuff, like where the volcano goes off and stuff regularly, you can actually buy land there and it's pretty cheap. But the chances of the volcano going off and destroying your property are like 99.9%. If it was the same with the sea level stuff, it would be the same thing. You cannot just buy, they would not just be spending trillions, for sure billions of dollars on coastland properties around the world. So yeah. My personal opinion, again, for educational or for entertainment purposes only, this is my personal opinion. So yeah. All right. One more video here. I did play this in one of my last videos talking about this, just because I think it's important that people do realize, like, they lie about the sea levels. They lie about so much of the science and all this stuff. Like, if they're going to lie about that, then they'll lie about a lot of stuff. Anything at all. I mean, and if they'll lie about other stuff, like why buildings just free fell when nothing happened, when nothing hit this building blocks away in September in 2001, but the building collapsed. I mean, they'll lie about that. So yeah, you think they'll lie about the sea levels if they're making buildings fall in cities? Of course they'll lie. When they lie about the science of 2020, of course they will. Now again, it's important to remember, like, God doesn't tell us to be like rebellious against the government all the time. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to respect authority, follow the laws of the land. But when they go against the truth of God, then they absolutely are rejected every single time in the Bible by people. And also when they just go against the truth, people stand up to it in the past as well in the Bible. But we're not like anarchists. That's not what God has called us to be if you're a Christian. But at the same time, we can't just sit back and be like, well, they lie all the time to us. Should we just trust them now? Like, if they ask for forgiveness and they mean it, we can forgive them. But if they're going to keep lying, it would make no sense to follow them. Like, that's just bad ground, bad seeds. What they're producing is bad harvest. I mean, it's just, there's no reason to have any fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness is practically what it is. And Ephesians 5 tells us to expose those things, to not have fellowship with them. Well, guys, that's about everything I have pulled up on this subject. So if I were to just sit here and keep going, I would just be rambling. But I will be doing more live streams on this channel, because the last live stream and this one too has been fun to hang out with you guys in the chat and just to go over some of this stuff. And it's just enjoyable. And so I'll be doing more of those. So keep notifications on and keep your eye out for lives. And feel free to drop in the comments on this video, because I probably won't see it if it's in the chat right now since I'm about to end it. But you can refresh it and comment on the video. Different topics that would be fun and entertaining to look into. Obviously not the dark stuff, not the crazy stuff, because I don't even like that stuff in YouTube as well. But so yeah, let me know. And thank you guys for stopping on. I appreciate all you guys and for being here. We will do another stream soon. And let's highlight the most important thing that was mentioned in this stream, which is that living in obedience to God, reading his word, praying, worshiping him, worshiping him, worshiping him. Do not leave that out. Some people don't incorporate that in their life. It will change your Christian life if you bring worshiping God into it. And fasting as well. Incorporate these things into your life. Serve Jesus, live for him, aligned with him above everything else, and your life will drastically change. Even again, if it's just the peace that surpasses understanding, your life will drastically change. Nothing is more important. Nothing in this world is more important than being fully aligned with God. You could literally have the whole world handed to you without God, and it would mean nothing. It'd be worthless. So do those things. I'll try to do those things better. You try to do those things better. And I'll see you guys soon. God bless and have a great week.